What do you think
You're
I'm
not
wearing?
water, you're dirt. Yeah, but you already said you're fire, so I didn't want to.
Yeah,
I
I was
want to
like, I was gonna say,
douse that.
No,
I
you'll
was,
be water, and Anthony, you'll be clouds or
I'm
air.
fire. I'll do whatever I want when I want. I'm fire.
Yeah, that's fire mentality. I can't even disagree with that. Hello and welcome to the movie podcast review of Elemental. My name is Shahbaz, and of course, I'm your fire element today. And joining alongside me here in Element City are my two other elements, Daniel and Anthony. Daniel, you I think are like the earth one, like the ground, the dirty, disgusting one, like the one that's mud and
What
but
else?
also grows flowers and grass.
Interesting. Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. No.
I disagree with you, but thank you though.
Well, anytime. But hey, man, if we don't have dirt and mud and gross things like that, we don't have each other in the world.
It's true. I'm literally wearing all blue today, and you're like, "Nah, man, you're dirt.
What do you think
You're
I'm
not
wearing?
water, you're dirt." Yeah, but you already said you're fire, so I didn't want to.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
douse that.
No, you'll be water, and Anthony, you'll be clouds or
I'm
air.
fire. I'll do whatever I want when I want. I'm fire.
Yeah, that's fire mentality. I can't even disagree with that.
It's true, right?
Yeah,
you can't.
you can't.
He's just blowing hot air right now. So I'm like, yeah.
Oh,
this
but now is
fire.
the air or hot fire?
No, it's the heat coming off the fire. That's what we're feeling.
Yeah, the
I
crackle.
got those little pointy fire legs.
Every time in the movie when her mom would like run, it always killed me.
Yeah,
It was, because it was just so funny. Because like, there's so much that you, again, like, this is just a testament to Pixar, where you're just like, how would fire walk?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, like, what would fire be like if it had emotions?
Yeah.
And of course, this is what Pixar figures out.
Yeah, they do great with that kind of stuff. Well, first of all, I'm gonna ask how you guys are doing. Daniel, we'll start with you. How are you doing today?
I'm great. You know, this is a film that we've been really excited to talk about for a while. We got to see, 30 minutes of it all the way back in April when we got to sit down with Peter Sohn to talk about what we saw. And now here we are, 2 months later, having seen the final product. So I'm great. I'm excited to talk some Elemental with y'all.
Yeah, it feels like a long time coming. I mean, we watched that first trailer also last year, kind of gave us a little sneak peek about what this movie would be like. And I feel like this movie kind of like, we didn't really know that Pixar was kind of making this movie. Usually we have a pretty good idea as to what they're working on. Then they're like, hey, by the way, boom, this is the next thing. So that was pretty interesting. Anthony, what about you? Sorry, go ahead, Daniel. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say they work very interesting where it's like they'll announce a film a few years out and it'll be like, here's a title of it.
Yeah.
And then you won't see anything of it until like 6 months before the release.
Yeah, it's like,
so it's interesting.
Like I still remember when they were coming out with that Newt film around Toy Story 3 era, and it just never happened. Yeah,
we never saw it.
Always curious about that one. Anthony, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great as well. I'm just, excited to talk about elements on the periodic table
of elements. Well, you'll be sorely disappointed because we won't be talking about that at all today. But we will be talking about Elemental, which is the new Disney film and Pixar movie that will be coming exclusively to theaters June 16th. We want to give a huge shout out to our friends over there at Disney for allowing us to watch this film, allowing us that 30-minute preview in April, and also letting us have that conversation with Peter Sohn as well. Daniel, I know you had a great time with him. You guys were completely just jibbing and jabbing and vibing. You guys were like fire and fire. Not even like you guys weren't opposite elements at all.
So I went in wearing a Pizza Planet shirt, and as soon as I walked in, he's like, "Hey, I love your shirt." And then we were already just talking, and literally everyone in the room was like, can you sit down so we can start recording it? So we had a little bit of fun before that. And you'll see in our interview when we release it this week, or it should be out already actually, or I don't know. It's going to be out sometime. There's a review out. Yeah. Time doesn't matter. But when you watch that interview, you'll see we had a great time together.
And the only way to really know if Daniel is telling the truth or not is by checking out the rest of the show, making sure that you go to our social medias, you check out at the Movie Podcast on every social media platform possible, and then come back to us and let us know, hey, Daniel, you're right. The interview is out. I did my research. Or you can be like, listen here, you water piece. I said the interview's not out. So I mean, you can be rude, you can be kind. It all depends on your mood, I think.
It does, yeah. Whatever you feel like.
The movie again we're talking about is Elemental. There's a lot to go into this movie, so I don't want to take too long. I want to kick it right over to review in our first reactions. Daniel, please let us know what you thought of Elemental.
This film is just so beautiful. Elemental it's beautiful to look at, and we really are in a great era of animation. And I think when we think of what we just had with Across the Spider-Verse, which is just like we've never seen before, the timing of Elemental's release is great because it's something that we haven't seen from Pixar before. It's a very unique look for a Pixar film, and I think that really helps them with standing out in, even in the crowd that they've created of, beautiful looking movies that are all starting to look a little bit similar now, but Elemental really breaks through, and I think it is just filled to the brim of just charm and heart and soul. And this film has so much love put into it. And when we got to speak with Peter Sohn, this is a personal tale. This is a rom com. This is, based on and inspired by his own life. So when you see these relationships come to screen together, and you have, leave it to Pixar to find a way to make fire and water work together, right? And I think that's just another just the brilliance of the ingenuity of what Pixar does is taking these things that we know and bringing life to them, personifying them, giving them feelings, giving them a soul. And and Pixar did an incredible job with Elemental. I had a great time with it. It's really funny. It's just beautiful animation, and it's a great story. It's a story that's going to hit close to home for a lot of people because this is also part immigrant story. And all three of us here, for myself, for Auntie, I know our parents were born here. They came here. Same with Shay's parents. Like, this is something that's, that we've experienced, with our families have experienced coming here, having to change your name, having to change your birthday. And, and it was funny that we got to actually like talk to Peter about that too, because those are things that he experienced in his own life with his family. So when you have a story that's telling something so personal, it's great that it got to come out in the way that it did, tell a really beautiful looking story, and it was a really great time. I had a great time with this one.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, the immigrant side of the story is something that also it was just we felt so seen. I think that representation of being like, yeah, like Daniel, you and I've talked about it many times before of our family coming here and our last names just not being correct or our first names not being correct, and it feels such a specific thing that gets addressed in this movie, which we had a lot of fun with. I think the animation is another technical marvel for Pixar because this seems like another thing, that they had to really figure out. And I say that because you have all these elements that are consistently moving. Fire is always crackling and moving, but then you have water, which not only has to be reflective, but it also has to be something that's completely fluid and moving constantly. And there are so many moments in this film where we all kind of looked at each other and we're like, this looks real. Like this looks like it's shot just on a camera, not created on a computer. That photorealism is in full effect here. And you have phenomenal performance as well from the actors. You have Leah Lewis, who plays Ember, and Mamoudou Athie, who plays the oh my god, why am I blanking on
Wade.
Wade? Yeah, I was gonna call
Water?
him Will,
Yeah.
but I'm like, it's
No,
Wade.
Wade.
Like Wade, like
Dude,
a wading pool.
the waves in his hair, like
Unreal.
that they're constantly like crashing waves on the top. Like,
Yeah.
it's such a small detail, but I kept looking at his water hair.
Water
Because I was just like,
faux
that
hawk
is
type
like
thing.
it's so impressive. It's just so impressive what they're able to pull off with this.
Absolutely, and it's also the small subtle things. Like I remember Daniel going over to you and be like, "Did you see the dad's shorts? They're made of like chainmail. Like they're just
Yeah.
it's so silly." There's a lot of things I loved about this movie. There's this imaginative story. There's this heartfelt story in there, and it just really feels like Pixar's first rom com. And I think that's really where I wanted this movie to go. I feel like there was some extra stuff in this movie that we didn't need. They have a bit of not a world-ending stake, but you have this very, big stake that happens in the third act that they kind of keep building up to, which I feel like you didn't really need because it kind of takes away from the romantic story that we were getting in this movie, which I feel like really should have just been it because there's a lot of fun to be had there. There's a lot of great comedy. It doesn't have to be this giant movie. But I think beyond that, everything else in this movie was phenomenal. I was laughing. I felt emotional. I felt really relatable to this film as well. But yeah, Anthony, please let us know what your first reactions are for Elemental.
There is a lot of relatability to it. It's if you're a child from immigrant parents, you'll have a connection to that. If you're in a new relationship, you'll have a connection to that. Or if water is coming towards you and you're fire and you will die if it hits you, you have a
Damn.
connection to that.
Yeah.
Though it's one of those movies where it's like Pixar shows off its technical achievements that it can do with its
Hmm.
computers. It's like, yeah, we can create waves in this dude and in his hair for the next 2 hours. And we can make flames come out of her body that kind of spread through like an aura consistently. And it's just like, man, what mathematician or mathematics are you using to create these interesting looking characters? There's clouds, there's trees, and this whole city is so alive in the sense that it fire can't touch the tree dude, or he engulfs into flames, or water can't do this, and it's really really cool. So you have all these elements in one city. But I really enjoyed I think the biggest thing for me in this movie, other than just the comedy and how much I enjoyed that part, and just the whole, it's a very kind movie. I would say it's like one of those movies that it's sometimes it's unrealistic to see in the world that we live in, but it's amazing that Peter's story really connects to this and is really original from his upbringing and what he kind of went through. But I think for me, I was trying to this path of, does it stay a story about the immigrant family whose guilt, we'll say generation guilt on the daughter to continue living in or working in their shop, or is it a love story between two opposite elements, and how you can really connect with those two things, and it doesn't matter if you're oil and water, there's some way, there will be a connection. So I was preferred it more to be the comedy side and more of the love story side, because it's so opposite and different than what we got from other Pixar films. Because a lot of Pixar films, they really do a great job of making you rethink your life and things that have been
Yeah.
connected to your life. So like the immigrant
Too
story
often.
feels very similar to Turning Red's immigrant story, right? Like there's things like that, but the love story in this is so different because we haven't experienced that in a Pixar film before. So it just feels like, whoa, I didn't know you were going down this type of love story where you had two elements and how they would actually fall in love. Like that's completely different than toys running away or monsters trying to scare kids, or like it's a more mature storyline,
It's
right?
true.
Overall, I enjoyed my time with it. I think the audience got really invested into the love story. I think there was parts where she was telling Will, is it Will?
Wade.
Wade. She got the Will in me now. Wade.
When there's a Will, there's a Wade.
Which makes sense because he's kind of wavy, but then Wade would kind of,
Yeah, like you wade in the water, like
Yeah.
you're wading
or
in the
yeah,
water. Yeah.
he's telling her that he loves her, and she's like, I don't love you, and the crowd would be like and it'd be a lot of gasps and a lot of claps and a lot of like crying. I
It
remember
was
when
fun seeing it that way,
the
right?
movie ended, I'm like, you guys are crying, like this is
Yeah.
really hitting you emotionally.
Yeah.
And as me, I don't cry that much, so I was just kind of like,
You cry?
interesting. I cry
Anthony was crying
once in a
fire,
while.
I think.
There's certain years in the decade
in
that
the
I
Anthony timeline.
yeah, in the
Yeah.
timeline. But yeah, no, I enjoyed my time with it. I think Peter Sohn did a fantastic job of creating a unique story. I think I don't know where it lives in the echelon of Pixar films. I find it, I don't know, like it's in a weird spot because even when you look at it, it doesn't even feel like a Pixar movie. It feels so different. But the subject matter is what kind of like brings you back, saying, "Oh yeah, this is a Pixar film." That makes more sense.
Definitely.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of like my reaction to it.
Yeah, there's like a level of maturity that almost all Pixar films really kind of bring, and in this one, you really feel that they tackle some subject matter that I'm surprised that they can get away with it. But kids will still find it; they'll still understand and relate to it, and that's the beauty of the storytelling in this movie. That even though the subject matter might get a bit inaccessible because of how deep it can be, no water puns intended, it still somehow manages to make it accessible for people. People still get it, they understand it, and I think that soap opera effect that we were kind of witnessing while watching this movie, of people going gasping or just
Mhm.
being like, "Oh my god, this is what's happening here. I don't love you, I love you," back and forth. It was fun to see because that's a great theater experience, and it's a great movie experience, and I'm really happy that we're getting Pixar to kind of come back and tell us these tales that really move us and push us forward, because it has been a bit up and down lately with some of the quality of the storytelling. The animation still continues to be blowing our minds, and then you have movies that came out like Into the Spider-Verse that, are pushing that genre forward even more, and Across the Spider-Verse as well. So it's really interesting to
It's
see. Sorry, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead, Shay. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say it's just really interesting to see where animation can go, and I really want to see how Pixar can completely flip the script, because they have the ability to. While Elemental I really liked it and I thought it was great, it's still a safe film in the sense of, around Pixar, it doesn't change what they've done. It just kind of keeps the momentum going.
And I think too, when you look at the story wise, it's interesting seeing some of the little nuances that they dropped in here. And there's moments obviously of racism. There's moments of just like these microaggressions and these like that you don't that people may go over some people's heads, but for a lot of people they'll be like, oh wow, they actually they touched on that. When there's a scene where Ember is like at dinner with Wade's family, and one of them says like, oh, you're so like you speak so well, you're so articulate, and it's like that's one of those things that like you catch that and you're like, oh, they're going there, like they're addressing like these themes head on. And sure, it could be like a little heavy-handed or blatant what's going on, but that's also just the reality of the world that we're living in, that these things happen, these things are real, so we're going to put them in a film and show them that they're real. Just like in Turning Red, where they're talking about periods and tampons, it's like, yeah, that's a real thing that happens. That happens to girls maturing. The racism is a real thing, and you're going to include that in a movie because that's a reflection of people's realities. And just because you feel it doesn't have a place in a film doesn't mean that it shouldn't exist. And this is a film that is reflective of the time that it's coming in. And I'm glad that Peter Sohn was able to include those themes, because that is so important to having a film that could be really funny, really intelligent, really just beautiful, but also include some of the not so nice realities of the world that we're living in. Whether you're living in Element City or you're living on planet Earth, those are things that you're going to experience. So I think it's really important, and I think it's really incredible that they got to include those in the story.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you touched upon that, because when people were saying, "Oh, some of the themes are just too on the nose," it's like, or some of the scenes that you just mentioned right now about, you can speak English really well, being too on the nose. It's because it's meant to be, in the sense that this is like, I have been told, as soon as I start talking to somebody when I first meet them, I have literally been cut off and be like, "Oh wow, you speak English really well," and I'm like, yeah, I mean, what? It's just
I've been here my whole life, man. Like,
it's
what do
just
you want?
shocking. It's shocking that is
Yeah.
the immediate reaction. Or, oh, I'm not even gonna try to say her name. Kind of like in the opening sequence of this movie, where they
That
pronounce
just
their
happened
names.
to you, Shay.
That
Like
just
that
happened to
just
me.
happened to you a couple weeks ago.
And
Yeah.
I was so angry after. I'm like, you can't say two syllables. You can say every other name from Game of Thrones correctly, but my name for some reason is tough. That's another story.
And Shay's name is the coolest one to say out of all of our
Don't
names.
no, please stop.
Like,
I love saying Daniel.
it's
I love
true.
saying Anthony.
No, you don't. No, you
Did I say that right, guys? Sorry, my
no,
sponsors are here.
don't even try and say our names, okay? Don't even
No,
try.
you can't even pronounce
Yeah.
them.
I'm
No,
not gonna
but
lie,
that's
I
the
have a
thing,
very
right?
cool name, and I will live
Anthony?
with my name. Yeah,
whatever, man. That's like the
King
first name in the dictionary.
Anthony.
My name has King in it. Shah, like that. That is King.
Cool, man.
Yeah,
But
yours says Ant in it. We can step on you. And I'm just kidding. Now we got racist with each other. That
No.
dramatically.
No, but it's funny though, right?
Yeah.
Like when you see that, it's like, yeah, like they're going to include those things because sadly,
It
that's
happens.
how blatant people are in the real world too. And it's like you want to have a film that reflects that, right?
It happens, and I'm glad they did it. As on the nose as it can be, because sometimes you need that. You need to feel that level of discomfort, and if you felt uncomfortable by that moment, it did its job. Anything else that you guys want to? Actually, one really quick thing that I want to add on, which I'm sure we will all echo the same statement. The music, phenomenal. Like the original
yeah.
songs, I kept humming the na 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 na. I just kept humming that all the way through. It just really, really stuck with me. There really is this cultural vibe with the music. And I believe it's Thomas Newman that does the score.
Sure is. Yep.
Just fantastic. Yeah, really loved it. Anything else you guys want to add before we kind of kick it over to our final recommendations?
No, I think I'm good. Other than the fact that, Pixar, like Peter Sohn, I didn't get to tell you this when we spoke, but I created a superhero in elementary school called Elemental. But
Uh-oh.
I'll let
Wait,
you
wait,
guys
wait. Are
have
you
it. It's
suing?
fine. I'm not going to sue.
Is
I'm not
this
going to
the
sue. I'm not
episode
gonna
where we
sue.
find out you're suing Disney?
No, I don't want to do that. I'm not
Okay.
going to do that.
All right.
I withdraw. I withdraw my suits.
You'll
If
see
you guys
me
haven't
again,
seen it
though.
already.
This isn't the last
Yeah.
you've seen of me.
That was actually the catchphrase of my superhero. So there you go.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Was he a villain?
I'm
villain
kind of
line,
confused
right?
now. And
Yeah,
why was
no,
that
no, it's
his
okay, it's okay.
catchphrase?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get to our final recommendations. Anthony, let's start off with you. What are your final recommendations for Elemental?
I enjoyed my time with Elemental. I thought it was really well done. But it's not a movie that you need to rush to the theaters to watch. I think this is something that you could watch on a Tuesday, or maybe wait for it to be on Disney Plus. And I would say add this to your queue. I think there is an endearing story to it, a story that you will learn a lot from, and I think a lot of people will connect with. But it's not something that you need to run right away to watch.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Daniel, what about yourself?
For me, I'm going to say watch it. I had a great time with it. I think the themes in this movie were really beautiful. I think it's a beautiful movie to look at. And I just like that, Pixar, the last year or so, we look at Turning Red, we look at this. I think Turning Red and Elemental are films that were really getting movies pushed by the stories of their creators. And I really like that. And I want Pixar to keep pushing that. I want Pixar to keep going down and trying new things and telling these personal stories, because I think that's really where they get to shine. And I think when you have a movie that's just so full of love and soul, go watch it. You'll have a great time with it. The performances are great, the music is great, and it's a really beautiful movie to look at.
Thank you. Yeah, we're in a very interesting time right now with summer blockbuster movies. Elemental is dropping on the same day as another big tentpole blockbuster film for the
Asteroid
summer.
City.
Asteroid City, exactly that. Runs really, really fast, that film. And then you have, just a few weeks prior, you have in Across the Spider-Verse that came out, which is still crushing it at the box office. I would say go watch Elemental because I had a really good time with it, and it just really resonated with me. It really felt relatable. But I also do understand that we're in a place where Pixar films come out on Disney Plus, and you don't have to go rush to watch a movie. I would say watch it still, but if you really are kind of hesitant on it, you don't probably want to wait too long for it to come on Disney Plus, and you can watch it with the entire family, crying and all. So
Exactly.
there's that.
Yeah, that's true.
We have a fantastic Discord channel as well. Please check that out below because you can join it and you can talk to us about movies like Elemental. You can talk to us about movies like Indiana Jones, The Flash, Asteroid City if you want to talk about it. There's so many great things that are kind of coming out this rest of the year, and we want to really hear from you. So go ahead and join our Discord. We have a really fun community in there. Follow us on social media at The Movie Podcast everywhere you go. That way you can find out what movies reviews are coming out, what interviews are coming out, because there's a lot of stuff that we're constantly working on. We are The Movie Podcast. We always stay busy. As Daniel always says, you're in the best place for movies, so stick right here. It's kind of like what you said, right? That's kind of what you said. Stick it right here.
I said stay here. I said stick it right here.
I'm so
stick
it right here is what I'm used to from you.
Stick it right here.
Put that
Like
in your
Spider-Man.
slot. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that was This Time with the Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.